If you're a veteran, or you know one, the next few minutes could genuinely put more money in your pocket or protect a benefit you didn't even realize you qualify for. Right now, there are 5 real, confirmed developments affecting VA disability compensation heading into and through 2026. An automatic pay adjustment already showing up in bank accounts, a quietly expanded list of conditions the VA now accepts without proof of cause, a lesser-known rule about who actually gets extra pay for a spouse or kids, a built-in review process most veterans have never heard of, and, this is the one I want you to stick around for, a path to full 100% pay that a lot of veterans qualify for without ever getting a 100% rating. Let's go through all 5, one at a time, so you know exactly where you stand. Subscribe now for the latest VA, Social Security, SSI, SSDI, and Medicare updates, so you never miss an important benefit change. Every VA disability payment jumped 2.8% starting with the December 2025 payment, which reflects in your January 2026 deposit. This is the annual cost of living adjustment, tied to the same inflation measure Social Security uses. If you're rated 100% with no dependents, that's roughly an extra $107 a month. If you're at 10%, it's closer to $5. Not life-changing on its own, but here's the part people miss. This increase touches more than just your base disability check. If you receive special monthly compensation, dependency and indemnity compensation as a survivor, or VA pension, those went up too. And you didn't have to do a single thing. No form, no phone call, no reproving your disability for the 100th time. It's automatic. The only veterans who won't see a change are those rated at 0%, because that rating doesn't carry a monthly payment to begin with. Now here's something a lot of veterans get wrong about that COLA increase, and it ties directly into change number 2. People assume a cost of living bump means the VA reevaluated their condition, or their rating went up. It didn't. COLA is purely a dollar adjustment for inflation. Your percentage rating stays exactly the same unless you file for a reevaluation yourself. So if your condition has actually worsened since you were last rated, that increase in your monthly check is not going to reflect that. You'd still need to file an increased rating claim. Keep that distinction in your back pocket, because it matters for what's coming next. Subscribe now for the latest VA, Social Security, SSI, SSDI, and Medicare updates, so you never miss an important benefit change. Change number 2 is about who actually qualifies for VA disability in the first place, and this is where the list has been quietly growing. Under the PACT Act, the VA has continued adding conditions to what's called the presumptive list, meaning if you served in a location with known toxic exposure and you were later diagnosed with one of these conditions, the VA assumes the connection to your service. You don't have to prove it caused your illness. Conditions like hypertension, certain blood disorders, and specific cancers have been added to that list in the past couple of years. If you were denied for one of these conditions in the past, before it was added to the presumptive list, you may be able to file what's called a supplemental claim now that the rules have changed in your favor. That's a completely different outcome than the first time you applied, simply because the VA's own criteria shifted. Before we get to the third change, if this kind of information is useful to you, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. It genuinely helps more veterans and their families find this channel when they're searching for answers like this. Alright, let's keep going. Change number 3 explains why that presumptive list keeps growing, and veterans rarely hear about the mechanism behind it. Written into the PACT Act is a requirement, not a suggestion, a legal requirement, that the VA review new toxic exposure science on a recurring cycle and consider whether additional conditions should be added. This means the list you see today is not the final version. It's built to evolve. Now, I want to be straight with you here. A condition being discussed or studied is not the same as a condition being officially added. I've seen a lot of headlines online treating, under review, the same as approved, and that's misleading. If a condition isn't formally on the VA's presumptive list yet, you cannot file as if it already is. But what this does mean practically is this. If you have a condition tied to toxic exposure that isn't presumptive today, it's worth checking back periodically, because the list has changed multiple times in just the last couple of years, and there's a real, legally mandated process behind why it keeps changing. Change number 4 is one of the most common misunderstandings I hear from veterans and their spouses, and it costs people money they think they're entitled to but aren't. Or more often, they don't realize they are entitled to and never claim it. Additional compensation for dependents, a spouse, children, or a dependent parent, does not kick in at every disability rating. If you're rated at 10% or 20%, you get a flat rate no matter how many dependents you have. That extra dependent pay only starts once your combined rating hits 30% or higher. So if you've had multiple conditions rated separately and they combine to cross that 30% threshold, you may be leaving money on the table if you never went back and added your spouse or kids to your file. This is a simple form, but it's one people forget because they assume the VA automatically knows about their family situation. It doesn't. You have to tell them. Subscribe now for the latest VA, Social Security, SSI, SSDI, and Medicare updates, so you never miss an important benefit change. Now, here's the part one said I'd come back to, and if you've made it this far, this is genuinely the most valuable piece of the whole video for a lot of veterans watching. Most people think the only way to get paid at the 100% disability rate is to actually be rated 100% by the VA. That's not true. There's a benefit called TDIU, Total Disability Individual Unemployability, and it pays you at the full 100% rate even if your combined rating is lower, sometimes as low as 60% or 70%, as long as your service-connected conditions prevent you from holding steady, gainful employment. I want to say that again because it's the detail people miss. Your rating on paper can say 70%, but your monthly check can match what a 100% veteran receives if you qualify for TDIU. This exists specifically for veterans whose conditions, physical or mental health related, make full-time work unrealistic, even if no single condition on its own reaches that top rating. A lot of veterans in their 60s and 70s who've been living with a lower rating for decades have no idea this option exists, and they've never applied for it. If your service-connected conditions have made it difficult or impossible to keep steady work, this is worth looking into with a veteran service officer, because the difference in monthly income can be substantial, and it's completely legitimate. This isn't a loophole. It's a benefit written directly into VA regulations for exactly this situation. Subscribe now for the latest VA, Social Security, SSI, SSDI, and Medicare updates, so you never miss an important benefit change. The COLA increase already boosted your payment automatically, no action needed. The presumptive conditions list has expanded, which may open the door to a claim that was previously denied. There's a legally required review process behind that list, meaning it will likely keep changing, so it's worth checking periodically rather than assuming today's list is final. Dependent compensation only kicks in at 30% or higher, so if you've crossed that threshold and never added your family, that's worth fixing. And TDIU can put a veteran at full 100% pay even without a 100% rating based on their ability to work. If there's one single takeaway to walk away with today, don't assume your current benefit reflects everything you're entitled to. VA rules shift more often than most people realize, and the gap between what you're receiving and what you actually qualify for is usually closed by one thing: filing the right paperwork at the right time. The single most useful action you can take today isn't waiting for a phone call from the VA. It's reaching out to an accredited veteran service officer through your local VFW, American Legion, or DAV chapter, and asking them directly whether your current rating reflects your full situation, especially around dependents and TDIU eligibility. That conversation is free, and for a lot of veterans, it uncovers benefits they've been missing for years without knowing it. Subscribe now for the latest VA, Social Security, SSI, SSDI, and Medicare updates, so you never miss an important benefit change. You've served, and you've earned every bit of what these programs are meant to provide. My hope with videos like this one is simply to make sure you're not missing out on something you rightfully qualify for just because the rules changed quietly in the background. Take care of yourself, take care of your paperwork, and I'll see you in the next one.